It's another virtual session from The Current. My name's Bill DeVille, and I'm so excited to be chatting with Lucinda Williams. She has a fine new album called Good Souls, Better Angels. Lucinda, how are you? It's nice to have you along with us.
Thanks. I'm okay. Hanging in
Mm-hmm.
there, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
How's things in East Nashville?
Well, from the perspective of the inside of my house, it's pretty
Yeah,
good. I haven't been
yeah.
out. I went over to Ray Kennedy's studio to do something and another thing like that. But since like May 10th or something, I've been, in lockdown mode. I'm kind of getting
Yeah.
used to it now.
Do you like it? I mean, you're somebody who's out on the road on tour all the time. You're a
Yeah,
road warrior for 40 plus years, and
I kind of like it to some aspect. There's an aspect of it that I like, because it sort of feels like I'm on break in between tours, except it's a
mhm,
longer break. But it's giving me time to get caught up with things, so,
mhm.
and I've taken advantage of the time. Um, we just moved into this house in East Nashville, so we're, working on that stuff, getting furniture and stuff, and I've been doing tons of these kinds of things. I'm getting to kind of understand the Zoom thing, the Zoom
Yeah,
world, which is a
yeah.
whole new world.
Yeah, none of us even knew what it was in February, and here we are, and it's
I
May, and
know, I know, I know. Yeah,
and you survived the tornado. What was that experience like?
yeah. Well, it was, we had literally just moved into the house, like I guess a couple of weeks before that, and they give you some warnings and everything, and you just have to pay attention to it, but you don't ever know how it's going to go. And we just kind of huddled in the house, and then we heard
Yeah,
this big sound, and you don't really realize the aftermath of it till you go outside the next day. And then it turns out we didn't get hit as bad as some of our neighbors, but it basically destroyed the front porch and knocked down the fences and messed up the roof. So we're in the process of getting all that stuff fixed.
sure. It's complicated and hard to, find the contractors and get all this stuff taken care of, isn't it?
Yes,
Mhm,
yes, it is. Yeah.
mhm. Well, how about some music? What are you gonna play for us, Lucinda?
Okay. I was going to play the first track off the album called "You Can't Rule Me," which was inspired by a Memphis Midi song. Um, You man, I got a right to talk about what I see. Way too much is going wrong, and it's right in front of me. You can't rule me. You can't rule me. You can't take my money and try to rule me too. You might expect me to follow, but I ain't gonna fall in line. I tell you what, there's much I know. The dotted line ain't been signed. You can't rule me. You can't rule me. You can't take my soul and try to rule me too. You might beat me, you might cheat me, and try to make me change my mind. You might stick me, you might trick me. I'm gonna tell you one last time, you can't rule me. You can't rule me. You can't take my money and try to rule me too. You wanna go and tell me what's good for me. You wanna tell me what I'm paid for. The game is fixed, it's plain to see, but I ain't play no more. You can't rule me. You can't rule me. You can't take my money and try to rule me too. You can't rule me. You can't rule me. You can't take my soul and try to rule me too. Yeah, you can't rule me. You can't rule me. You can't take my money and try to rule me too. You can't take my soul and try to rule me too. You can't take my money and try to rule me too.
That's Lucinda Williams and a track from the new album Good Souls, Better Angels. It's a virtual session from the current My Name's Bill DeVille, and that's called You Can't Rule Me. Now, you mentioned Memphis Minnie. Was she big for you? Was that an artist you really admired when you were, first discovering music?
Yeah, I guess, I discovered her sometime in the 70s, I think. And she was the first Delta blues woman artist who I discovered who, play guitar and wrote her own songs. So that was a pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, speaking of the blues is like really kind of all over this album, isn't it?
Yeah.
What inspired?
To make it out. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really bluesy. In fact, I hear like a Chicago bluesy sounding track that you're going to play here in just a little bit. What inspired that bluesy sound on the record?
Well, I think the nature of the songs, and I had my band in there I've been working with for a long time, and we were in between tours, and so the wheels were greased, and it was a combination of that through Ray Kennedy's. He has this amazing collection of vintage guitars and amplifiers. So that helped get that certain kind of sound. And then Ray himself had the board. And I didn't, tell him what to do or anything. He just instinctively, the first track we cut was You Can't Rule Me. And right away, I said, God, I love this. This sounds amazing. And so what I've been wanting to get that sound on a record. And so that just inspired all the rest of it. We just, we cut a bunch of stuff, and then at some point it, became clear as to, which songs fit together, for the album. So, the tracking was done in probably within a couple of week period, a few days here, a few days there. And then we didn't really have any overdubs, other people come in, except Ray brought this guy to come in and play keyboards on a couple of keyboard parts. But, other than that, we just left it just us. And so that adds to that sound, I think, too.
Yeah. It sure does. And Stuart Mathis, your guitar player, he really cuts loose on this album.
Yeah.
Did you just tell him, say, hey, just shred on this one? Or did you just kind of fool around with it? Or?
Not that much. Tom was there as co-producer of Ray, and everybody just, we all worked together on it. And there probably were a couple of times maybe where I remember Tom saying something to Stuart like, don't hold back, man, just go, and but that was the general atmosphere, and then I remember telling Butch on a couple of tracks, like, don't play so many cymbals and all, because he loves all his, cymbals and percussion stuff and all that. And we started to play this one song, and he started right away on his, the cymbals and the this, all this stuff. And I turned to Tom and went, "No, I don't want it like that." And then, Tom went over to Butch and went and said, "Dude, lose the cymbals." Like we just want it to be, So other than that, though, it was pretty organic, really, the whole process, But
Well, it's a
it was a
great
good,
sounding record.
yeah, it is a great sounding record.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, that's
Congratulations. Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, what are you going to play this time?
So I was going to play Bad News Blues, which is, an appropriate song for the
Sure
times.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when has there not been bad news? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Bad news on my TV screen. Bad news on my highways. Bad news on the elevator. Bad news on the street. Bad news in my car. Bad news under my feet. Bad news at the bar. All over my clothes. Under my hat. On the radio. In a laundromat. Hanging in the air. Laid on the ground. Walking up the stairs. Bad news all around. No matter where I go, I can't get away from it. Don't you know I'm knee deep in it. But who's gonna believe liars and lunatics? Fools and thieves and clowns and hypocrites. Gluttony and greed, and that ain't the worst of it. All the news you can read, all the news that's hypocrites. Bad news on my left, bad news on my right, bad news in the morning, bad news at night. In my refrigerator, bad news in my sink, on my typewriter, bad news in my drink, bad news on the walls, all over the floor, down the hall, knocking at the door. Bad news in the mail, follow me home. Bad news on my trail, bad news on my phone. No matter where I go, I can't seem to get away from it. Don't you know I'm knee deep in it. Who's gonna believe liars and
Ah, it's nice. It's such a great Chicago blues feel on that one. I just love it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I notice it has kind of you have, many political sort of songs on this new album. It seems like
yeah.
this is the first time you've done a full album of songs in that kind of vein. Is that true?
Yeah, there are more of them on this album. Yeah, that was
Mhm.
just kind of, I've been working on some of them for a while. Um, in fact, Bone of Contention, I wrote several years ago and was going to put it on my Little Honey album, the one right after West, and for whatever reason, it just didn't decide not to, and that happens sometimes. It just doesn't fit or something, And of course, now it's perfect for this album. So, you know, and the big rotator song, I've been working on that forever. I got that idea, the little refrain part I had, carrying around with me in my notes and everything for a long time. And, just, I mean, the spirit of the atmosphere, has been very, fraught with, tension and anger and frustration for some time now. And it's just built up and built up. So that was definitely on my mind, when I was getting the
Mhm.
songs ready, for this album. So, but, we cut some other ones too that aren't topical songs, but at a certain point, it just, these all just fit together so well.
Mhm. Now this is also the first album where you've, written songs with Tom, your husband. Is it hard
Yeah.
to share songwriting credits? Something you've been doing on your own for so long?
Well, that was sort of a gradual process too. Going back to probably like Ghost of Highway 20, that particular song, the idea for that was his idea. And, he was real shy about it. He's always been into creative writing and all. And, over time, he would, just a little bit at a time, he would come up with a couple of lines that were a title or an idea, and he'd say, like I would be in the writing mode, he'd come up and say, well, I've got this idea for something, but now you don't have to use it or anything, but I just want to show it to you. And, and it was kind of like that.
Mhm.
And they got a little bit braver as time went on. And when I was doing the songs for this album, he really came up with some great stuff. And basically the process would be, he would come up to me with an idea for a song and, maybe a couple of verses or a refrain or something like that, but it wouldn't have a melody or anything yet. And then, I would fill in the rest and, arrange it and write the melody and everything, but it's been great because really, it's just opened up a whole new world. I'm very open to the idea of it. I think both of us were a little hesitant, at first. I mean, Tom, even he was so modest about it. He kept saying, "You don't have to put my name on anything, I just want to make sure the songs get written and everything." And and I kept saying, "No, no, I'm giving you credit."
Yeah. It
So,
must be nice
and
to have somebody to bounce ideas off, I suppose, huh?
yeah, it is. And I never had done it before, really. And it reminded me of, I like to compare it to Tom Waits and his wife Kathleen,
Yeah.
when they started working together. And, so but yeah, it's been great. It just expands the horizons, really.
Mhm. And you and Tom were married at First Avenue 10 years
Yeah,
ago already, huh? Yeah.
I
Now
know. We
bes
were just talking about that last night.
Yeah, yeah, and you've been married 10 years, you got married at First Avenue. What other great memories do you have of playing at First Avenue, which turns 50 this year?
Oh God, it's one of my favorite venues in the entire country. From the first time the first time I played there, actually, I played at the Seventh Street Entry,
Mhm.
which is more of a, played there, I think, with Gerf Morlix, my old guitar player.
Right.
I know I did one with him at least, and probably a couple. And then that would have been back in the 80s. And then I worked my way up to playing, in the big room with my band at some point. And I just love the way they honor the artists so much. They honor musicians and the people who work there. It was just really a welcoming place. And, it's how fun is it to see your name on the outside, on the
Yeah.
brick wall and everything, along with all these other, legendary punk and rock bands. And, I compare it to like the Fillmore. To me, it's one of those. It's a perfect size venue. It's
Right.
not too big, it's not too small, and everybody's standing up, and it's just, it's my favorite kind of venue to play. And there aren't that many of them left,
Mm-hmm.
and in that size. So I hope to God, they're going to survive this this
Yeah, me
horrible
too. Me too. It's
thing we're
crazy.
going
I mean,
through.
yeah. I mean, they haven't been open since March now.
I know. Yeah, we just had Nashville just lost a venue, a smaller venue, but legendary place, Douglas Corner, that's been there for 33 years.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, I read an article, they're closing, so.
Yeah, that's always sad. Well, here in Minnesota, George Floyd's death is troubling all of us and is having a significant effect on our community and the nation. And we're all finding our own ways to understand what happened. For you, does songwriting help you process what's happening around you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why I did this. I wrote these songs because I care. And, I need to get out of my system and all of that. And also I care. And I just, it's, songs have always been away from, the folk music that I started out listening to. And, even some of the old early country music. But, I think a lot, I think back a lot on the early songs that Bob Dylan wrote, and he was inspired, of course, by Woody Guthrie. And, there was Phil Oakes and Pete Seeger, and, everybody was writing these songs about what was going on in the world, and I was used to hearing all that, and people would feel good. You'd listen to it, and it'd give you a sense of, you know, a kind of a connection with other people and a sense of unity. And we need these kinds of songs
Yeah.
more.
I
You
saw
know,
your uh, I saw your tweet that you sent out for Bob Dylan on his birthday about hearing Highway 61 revisited when you were 12.
yes,
That
that
was
was
a
the
big one
first
for
Bob
you,
Dylan.
huh?
Oh my
Yeah.
God, a student of my dad's brought it over to the house. Because back then when a new album would come out, it'd be like a big deal. It's like a celebration, And
Yeah.
I'd never heard Bob Dylan before. It's the first time I'd ever heard him. And this student of my dad's came over to meet with my dad. So they went in another room, and I put the album on, on the turntable, and went, wow. Even in my little 12-year-old brain, I knew something. I knew what was going on. It was he had taken the traditional folk music that I'd been listening to, and then the literary stuff, the lyrics from the poets and the literary crowd he hung out with. And for me, that would have been, my dad and all of his writer friends. And, I had come out of that whole traditional folk thing. So, it was like, wow, he put the two worlds together. This is
Yeah.
amazing,
Sure did.
and I just, from that moment on, you know, I wanted
And I
to. do that
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
like that. I didn't understand all the lyrics. That was back when he was, being very mysterious, but I got it though.
Yeah. Well, there's not a bad song on there. Tombstone Blues, like a
Yeah.
Rolling Stone. I mean, you can't go wrong with
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah. What are you going to play for us next?
I'm going to play a song called Big Black Train. And this is one that actually Tom had the idea for. And he approached me with it initially. I said, really? What? I said, Big Black Train. What in the world am I going to write? Am I going to say about a big black train that hasn't been said over and over again, for the last 200 years? And he said, well, this is a kind of different perspective on a train. This is more like the big black train represents the black cloud of depression, or the blues. And this is a train you don't want to get on. Most of the train songs or songs about, freedom train and all that. But this is a train you don't want to get on. So, but I was hesitant about it at first, but then I started working on it, and something clicked, and something magical happened, and now I love the song, and it moves me every time I sing it. You know,
Yeah.
there's something about it. It's simple, but it works
It has a
somehow.
mournful tone.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's very mournful. Yeah. I can hear it coming from miles away. I can hear it coming from miles away. I can hear it coming from miles away. And I don't want to get on board. I can hear it coming on down the track. I can hear it coming on down the track. I can hear it coming on down the track. And I don't want to get on board. I don't want to get on board. I don't want to get on board. I don't want to be no special rider. I don't want to get on board. Big black train, big black train. I don't want to get on board that big black train. Last time through it took me far away. Last time through it took me far away. Last time through it took me far away. And I don't want to get on board. Didn't know if I was ever coming back. Didn't know if I was ever coming back. Didn't know if I was ever coming back. But I don't want to get on board. I don't want to get on board. I don't want to get on board. I don't want to be no special rider. I don't want to get on board. Big black train, big black train. to the darkest night. Gonna take me to the darkest night. Gonna take me to the darkest night. So I don't wanna get on board. Didn't know if I was ever back. Didn't know if I was ever back. Didn't know if I was ever coming back. So I don't wanna go on board. I don't wanna get on board. I don't wanna get on board. I don't wanna be no special rider. I don't wanna get on board. Big black train, big black train. I don't wanna get on board that black train. I don't wanna get on board that big black train.
Well, that was nice. Great vocal on that one. You knocked it out of the park, Lucinda.
I
That's
almost
Lucinda
felt, see,
Williams.
every time I felt like crying at the end.
Very moving song. Thank you so much for that. The new album is called Good Souls, Better Angels, and sure appreciate you playing that one. Stay safe and healthy, Lucinda. It's been really nice chatting with you and hope to see you relatively soon here in the Twin Cities.
Yeah. Are you from Canada?
No, I'm not. I'm from South Dakota, actually.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Oh, it's kind of picking up a little Canadian in there. Well, I just want
I'll
to
take
send
that as a
out,
compliment. Yeah.
yes, it is. I just want to send out, respect and love and condolences, to the family and everybody in Minneapolis who's, been struggling with this last horrific act of racism. It's sad that it occurred in Minneapolis because Minneapolis is a beautiful, open-minded city. And, but, we just wanted to send that greeting out to everybody.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
And best of luck to you.